everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this. I'll introduce myself quickly. We'll do introductions, and then we'll get started. Yeah, I'm Benny Pacala. I'm head of development at Krypton Labs, which is a Web3 accelerator here in Miami, where we incubate early-stage Web3 companies and work with brands to launch Web3 products.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gigi. Some of you may know me as Giannina Scarlett. I am the founder of Cryptotech Women and We Learn Academy. We are a community-centric brand looking to bring more women and diverse voices into Web3. We help builders and learners through their Web3 journey, and we launched We Learn Academy as the main utility for Cryptotech Women, where it's a Web3 generalist platform for anyone wanting to jump into Web3 or strengthen their skills.
Hi, my name is Kevin Izzard. I am the co-founder of Serum. We are, as far as I know, one of the world's first decentralized autonomous brands. Our first product is an energy drink, and we've got kind of a unique structure I'm excited to talk about for value for our community members.
And my name is Eric Spivak, or Motivate, and I built the largest NFT and DeFi community in the world over the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And it's also turning into a conference called New Friendship Tech. It's technology creating new friendships, turning social currency into equity by way of participation, meaning in which if you're at an event like this, you've given your wallet address. After this event has its net profits or gross profits, we can redistribute wealth to all of you. That might take care of other expenses that you might have. So it's almost like reverse incentivization, and it's using blockchain and Web3 tools to really reinforce events and redesign how we do nightlife and ticketing and more.
Awesome. All right, so to set the stage on entertainment, we all engage with entertainment. It's broadly defined as TV, film, music, live performances like theater and comedy. It's essential to the human experience. And it's rode each new tech wave, right, from television to the internet, recently with streaming. So Web3 and NFTs are not the first time that entertainment has reorganized itself, has launched new products, has found ways to reach customers. So within entertainment, there's a lot of opportunity, specifically creating better communities with community-driven productions, with fan engagement, with digital experiences and digital offerings, and with new models for how productions launch and how they go to market. So to start, I wanted to dive into how people enter this space. Gigi, I know you've worked with builders and engineers that are new to Web3. What challenges and core frameworks do you see people learning as they first come in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing that I see when I enter Web3 and I go through the journey with them is that a lot of people enter Web3 through Twitter, right, or Instagram. So they've heard about NFTs and they've heard about trading JPEGs, and they don't really know what's the basis on it. Like, that's most of the people. It's like they know NFTs, but they don't know what are the foundations, why is it linked to maybe Ethereum, Solana, like whatever coin is linked to. So I think that's one of the first hurdles, like bringing them back to the foundation and why is an NFT non-fungible? How does it relate to the blockchain? And then after we go through the foundations is seeing how do you fit in the ecosystem? Are you a learner? Are you a builder? Are you a creator? Are you an artist? And then finding that journey for them, whether it is that they're going to be the next blockchain engineer or you're going to be the next NFT musician, right? Like, so I think it's having that structure of being able to walk someone through. How do you start? And what are you going to do next?
Absolutely. Kevin, Izzy, tell us a bit about Serum and the structure that you've created.
Yeah, so Serum is a bit unique. Essentially what we did is we took the structure of a DAO and kind of flipped it and created a decentralized brand. So the way we're structured is we have a governance token, which is SIR, and our community members can help determine the long-term strategy on additional product lines. But the big value is our physical product sales. A percentage of those profits sizable percentage of the profits go back into the token. So as the product sells and does well, the token side gets reinvestment. So there'll be continuous, like long-term, for lack of a better term, volume on our end, reclaiming some of that supply so that we can use for additional partnerships or through token burns. But one of the biggest components is we've created an incubator where if somebody has some talent or a product idea that they've always wanted to launch, they can generate a proposal and potentially get to run and oversee a product underneath the Serum umbrella. Escape that corporate life or that cubicle life they've always wanted to get out of, and really pursue a passion. So it's about empowering our community members and giving them opportunities.
Definitely. And before we start to break down what NFTs look like in different sub-industries of entertainment, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about your exposure to entertainment and what you've seen people asking for?
Yeah, early last year, and I think it was like the end of February, early March, I helped with a rollout with Netflix and a series called This Is a Robbery, which included 13 Web3 artists, where we created a collection, and that collection was reinterpreting the artwork that was showcased within the TV series. And then that artwork generated a revenue. That revenue went back to the artist 100%, and it showcased how a Web2 company and a new series launch could be tied into the Web3 toolbox and creators in the space, as well as collectors and curators, which also got participation credits attached to that. And after that, I started working with a collective called Film 3 Summit with a woman named Jordan Bain, and they talk about fractionalizing films. What if the next big box office hit allowed you to get compensated based off its success because you owned different items that were within that film? So maybe these chairs were NFT'd, and this screen was NFT'd, and this stage was NFT'd, and maybe parts of the script were written by some people in the audience, and based on the total result, everybody benefited and won, and also got participation credit on IMDb. Or potentially you could buy your way into the movie as an actor, as an extra, as a writer, as executive producer, even through a token. So I'm helping a lot of different businesses from different industries understand how to integrate Web3 tools into the way that their pre-existing businesses run, whether that's TV and film and entertainment, or nightlife and hospitality, food and beverage, or the music industry with companies like Royal and SoundMint, Mint Songs, Audius, Catalog, etc., Sound XYZ. So yeah, it's kind of a bit on my end.
You're busy.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
All right, so starting with film, so with movies and TV. So we've seen Warner Brothers and Fox invest in NFT collections alongside launches such as with The Matrix. They did the Matrix Revolutions collection. Stoner Cats, which I think was Fox, but did alongside Mila Kunis. There's new models for how a producer, an executive team, goes through the process of creating a storyline, drafting what a show, either a TV show or a movie, looks like, and then launching it to their audience and monetizing it. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit more. Panelists, and maybe Eric, through your experience, tell us a little bit about, so if a producer came to you and said, hey, we've got this plan for a TV show, we want to incorporate NFT elements into it, what is your strategic breakdown?
Might have to send you an invoice for consulting. No, I think at the end of the day, we understand that fundraising is one of the first steps to getting these things off the ground. And typically people lean on platforms like GoFundMe or Indiegogo or similar sites in order to generate those funds, or they get private investment, or they find a pre-existing studio that's willing to roll the dice in the same way as a music label would give an advance to an up-and-coming artist that might have a hit that's on TikTok or on shows. And so I think really, letting them understand the value proposition associated with having a tokenomic system attached to a feature film or even an independent film for fundraising, as well as for perpetual value. Say you have something that's like a series. Think about, you just mentioned The Matrix. Think about Transformers. Think about any box office hit that's had a very long run, that's maybe been close to a decade, if not longer. That IP has withstood the test of time. Those characters, their outfits, the weapons, the signature items that you recognize that turn into Halloween outfits, all of that is opportunities for licensing. All of that is opportunities for intellectual property that can be syndicated into video games, into phone apps, into IG filters and Snapchat filters and more. So why not have that tied to the blockchain and have it accessible to people to understand how long ago it was procured and originated, where it came from, and how many hands it's exchanged? If, say, you don't like the latest Lord of the Rings or whatever it may be that comes out, or Star Wars, maybe you sell that lightsaber that you've held on to for this whole time because you no longer like the franchise. But that lightsaber that you bought that one time for 1 Ethereum might have generated 20 for you. So I think you had a good run. So just kind of giving real world examples of integration and application of these things is a big eye opener to a lot of these production houses and film companies and directors and producers.
Yeah, there's a really good case study for this already. There's a project, I have no affiliation, and I don't hold any of the NFTs, called Huxley. What they did is they had a digital comic book. I think it was like 6 issues, and then there was an NFT associated with like avatars for characters from the series, and they were able to use that as a fundraise to get a feature film made for the project. There's a YouTube trailer, and it's unbelievable. The artist behind it, Ben Morrow, was one of the I believe lead concept artists for Halo, the whole Halo series. But I think they've partnered with, Focus Features. It's really cool. But that's kind of a really cool model and like a strategy to kind of get maybe an idea off the ground from, just from an art standpoint. And then, does it become a comic? Does it become avatar PFPs? And then just let that, that grow and evolve. I think that's a great case study.
So say we're launching a show and we want to do an NFT collection alongside it, whether we're selling collectibles, selling maybe fractionalized ownership. Gigi, where do we start with something like that? Either as an engineer or as a non-technical founder, how do we actually build this?
Yeah, definitely. I think first is setting out your plan. If you're using IP that's already recognized, like you purchase an IP that maybe already has comics or something, you may already have a fan base, right? So you can launch something and there's already demand for it. But if you are creating IP, so you're starting from scratch, I would say start with your business development plan on what is that IP, who is it for, how are you planning to merge it into digital and IRL. So maybe you start by creating the concept, the storyline, and you may not even want to create the storyline yourself. You might want to create the community around it and have your community create the storyline with you. Why? Because that will make them so much stronger and real fans because they have been involved. It's not like you're just selling them something. They were part of the process. They will be instant supporters, and they will tell their friends, hey, I helped create this storyline. So that's 2 ways of thinking about it. You can also sell the digital characters as one-of-ones. So those characters that you will have, you do a mint. Some of the mint will be extras, so you will see them as extras in this movie, this show. Some will get to mint one-of-one legendary characters. And then you can continue the ideation through that. But I would say think about how you have an NFT project, and now think about the concept of mixing the likings of a DAO, a project, and an in real life show. So it's kind of up to you to decide which route you want to take. You may not want to give that much ownership to your community. On the other hand, you might want to give all ownership to your community. So it will be a process of you deciding, do you want to have super fans or do you want to have an audience? 2 different things.
Can I add to that real quick? I think what you just mentioned is a really great concept that a lot of people are toying with. I helped launch a project last year called the Red Ape Family. And I think they have 2 seasons now. 2 Chainz is an executive producer on it. It's an animated series similar to your Cleveland show, American Dad, Simpsons, South Park, etc. But at the end of the day, like they had a certain amount of allocated tokens that gave you fractional ownership of the series and how well it did. And if you think about how well certain series do, whether that's Seinfeld or Friends or Rick and Morty or whatever it may be, at the end of the day, like some of these live for a very long time, and then they get syndicated on other platforms and other channels, and then they have an additional run in merch and apparel. So from a big picture, like 10,000 mile away approach, just looking at what's in the distance, I think that is kind of the future of like TV and entertainment to some degree, giving a little bit more of the pie and a little bit of ownership and opportunity to the consumers, because as of now, everything's extractive. It's take. We are leasing and renting the things that we love and value and appreciate. What if we had a stake in that? You know, and I think that's really the question that a lot of people are asking, especially with these generative art collections, where people want to know what's next. When Lambo, where's the roadmap go from here? You know, let your community define and decide that journey, and let it be something tangible that they can be proud of, and they'll become your best supporters, super fans, and promoters.
Yeah, and moving from film and TV to music, similar to film and TV, an experience that's been around for hundreds of years, thousands of years, but is changing with every new wave of technology. In the last few decades, music has seen Napster almost crash it down and completely change it, Spotify and streaming. So now NFTs are a new landscape. And I know through several of the projects that I'm working with and advising, it seems like companies are adopting music. Labels, major artists are adopting music or adopting NFTs as a way to package, sell their music and connect with fans. I'm curious to hear from the panel, what do we think is like the standard model for if you're an artist that's got an album launch coming up? How do you look at the different ways to sell your NFT and package that, and what long-term utility might you add?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, I've hosted Doja Cat, Flopstradamus, Wookie, Emojin Heap, The Game, Boys Noise, Mike Dean, and so many others in music NFTs, and everybody's going about it differently. A lot of this is experimental. Some experiments go really well, some not so well. I think in the same way as I mentioned, fractionalizing the end product into everybody has some form of participation value. I think like Alex of our Boys Noise, he released a project that had a bunch of stems, and those stems you could put into your own remixes and projects. So you just basically bought a feature with a award-winning, world-renowned DJ and producer from the electronic music world for the cost of an NFT, which has more value than you buying his record, and you got him on your record. And I think that's a very personalized way of building with someone you might be a super fan of, you know? So I think that's one route. And then also, like, you know, music was never meant to be free, and it was never meant to be $1. It cost a lot of money to make and a lot of time. Napster, BearShare, LimeWire, Pirate Bay, Silk Road, etc. Like, they've decreased cost of a lot of things and increased accessibility to a lot of things if you had a way in, right? SoulSeek being another one. But I think now more than ever, we're kind of unlearning the streaming process and diving deep into ownership and rights and being like, I bought your first NFT. I'm your #1 fan. Literally, I have this on my phone and I'm showing you, and now you bring me up on stage, and then I get to go in the green room, and now we're eating dinner, and now I'm friends with XYZ ABC, all because I supported your journey and bought this one thing 7 years ago at your first show, not knowing what the future would hold with it. I think looking that far out with these is very realistic.
I think another strategy I've seen, which, by the way, all the ones you mentioned are great, for new upcoming Web3 artists that may not really have a huge audience yet in Web2 either, what I've seen that really works is that when they do their shows, they start administrating POAPs, right? Like, POAPs are free to collect, free to create. So they start building these POAPs, and that's the way they start building their reward system for when eventually they will have a mint. So all of the people that have these POAPs will get perks, which also can be done once you have an NFT, right? You can do it through your NFT, you can do it through a POAP. What I've seen is you start with a POAP, you start rewarding the attendees for being there, and then once you have your upcoming mint, you might want to do a free airdrop to them because they were at your first shows. You might just put them on your mint list. It really depends on the way that you want to innovate with it, but I think the really cool thing is that you can start with something as simple as a POAP, which is just a proof of attendance, and it just shows, hey, I was there supporting you. I've seen gamified ways of doing this outside of music and in music, where it could be like, hey, if you have one POAP, you get X. If you have two, you might get like a bigger percentage of a discount or a free, kind of like a free surprise music drop. If you have three, and I've also seen this done by G Money, which a lot of people know. He did this for Admit One, and it was a really cool mint, right? So just to say, there's really cool ways that you can come into Web3 without really even having an audience in Web2 and creating something really meaningful.
And considering collaborations, so whether specifically in music or also across film, TV, other aspects of entertainment, Izzy, I'm curious, like, how might that look like if an established brand wanted to collaborate with an NFT community or with a Web3 brand? How might that structure?
Well, I think it's difficult. We've seen a lot of companies try and enter the Web3 space, and many fail. But I think the way to do it is you have to have a foundational community if you're going to have any type of collaboration or partnership. There's got to be people that are behind it. The reason for that is good project founders and good leaders are active. You know, I know people are spread thin and don't have a lot of bandwidth, but if you can, you know, if you're a Web3 native person and you know what it's like to be a community member and a holder, then I think it gives you a unique opportunity to maybe build something with the voice of the community in your head, knowing how to add value to your token holders. So I think what big brands need to do is they need to identify community members that maybe have unique skills, unique talents, and empower those people and lift them up to give them opportunities. Because, I mean, as far as our project is concerned, some of the biggest developments we've made were from people from our community. You know, when Lambo, we had a community member that has a Lamborghini and lives in the UK, and he wrapped his Lambo in our Mutant Ape NFT. That's the face of our brand. It's currently, you know, touring around the UK right now, shooting promos. We wouldn't have had the opportunity if we weren't active and working with our community. So it just be like being available. Your best ability is availability. Be active with your community, and I think a Web3 brand or a Web2 brand might identify some good opportunities if they learn from some of the examples of some existing projects.
Definitely. And I wanted to do a question about utility, a big conversation in the NFT space as we look at kind of the traditional utility of collectibles where there's a limited amount and you're one to hold, but also additional options like subscriptions and like access to these exclusive experiences. Wanted to hear a little bit about utility for NFT projects in the entertainment industry. What are some of the possibilities that we see, and what does it look like projecting out a decade?
I'll go. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I think one of my favorite music artists on the NFT in Web3 is a musician named Domino. I think what maybe up and coming or maybe some established artists can do is create some unique events around drops. Create their music as a membership and not just an album. If you're doing a tour, do unique like events, virtual backstages before the events. There's plenty of metaverse spots to do that, or just do it through Discord. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do tokenizing your music from an access standpoint to really build a foundational community.
I've seen some really cool use cases from artists. One being fractionalizing ownership. If they allocate a percentage of ownership on their music, they're not giving 100%, but maybe they do 50%. They do a drop, And then every person will get a percentage of ownership, which is really cool because if you really love an artist and you can say, hey, I own a little bit of that Beyonce song or whoever it is, that's something that will, again, make you have super fans and super supporters. There's also other utilities, like if you own this NFT, you will get access to backstage one time a year in our shows. Maybe you get a free ticket to be VIP at shows. You get to meet your favorite artists sometimes, depending on what is their structure with their utility. But we've seen this with so many new music artists that are coming into Web3. And even though for some they might think, oh, like maybe they bought it for $300, like why would I give you VIP? Why don't you want to build someone who will go out there, represent you, continue to support you because they got to meet you that one time? They got to be VIP with you that one time. Maybe you get a 30-minute one-on-one call with your favorite artist. So I think there's so many ways that you can innovate with utility with music. They don't always have to have utility, but if you do, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, and I know we only have a few minutes left, so I wanted to ask some specific questions about some of the projects you're working on. Kevin, and tell us a little bit more about Serum. I also know that you're bridging Web 2 and Web 3 since you're selling a physical product.
Yes.
How do you plan to go about that?
So we're going to market. Our home country is South Africa. My business partner, I'm out of Kansas City, but my business partner that I created the project with is out of Cape Town, which is great from a cost standpoint and having a good starting market. So currently we're in negotiations with one of the largest rugby teams in South Africa to be the primary sponsor, get the name Serum, across the front of the kit. But aside from that, once our first energy drink launches, we're going to be sharing like I've already mentioned it, I don't want to keep droning on and on, beating a dead horse, but we're really excited to share profits with our holders. The longer that we're established, we did a great job fundraising, and we're able to fund the roadmap, but I'm excited to reward loyalty. So we've met with some of the biggest retailers in the world. We've got a game plan to get our e-commerce running up after we get some sales numbers in South Africa. But the next stage for us is giving some unique NFT IP licensing opportunities for some other big communities. So we already got a Mutinate. We're going to look at a couple of other communities. I can't say for sure, maybe look at Doodles, maybe some smaller communities, and allow people to monetize their NFT by putting it on a different flavor of our energy drink and paying them a bag of ETH for it. So some cool competitions around that.
And I know that we're at time, but super quickly before we go, Gigi, I know you're working with people to help them enter the space, both engineers and builders. How can they get involved?
Definitely. So I know we're at time, so if you would like to message Crypto Tech Women, but the way that we do is through Crypto Tech Women, we're helping companies onboard their employees into Web3. We're helping kind of like everyone that we can come into Web3. And then once you have that step in, or maybe you already had it, you're a builder, we do have We Learn Academy, and we partner with thought leaders in the space as well as creating our own content for you to be able to talk about what is it that you do best. So it's not like an advertise me type of thing. It's more about teaching our audience, but we do get to share our audience with those builders that are part of our community and creating topics ranging from marketing, business, crypto, kind of like all of it. But first step, message me at Crypto Tech Women if you want to get involved. I would love to have you.
All right, well, thank you so much, everybody. I know we've got a few panelists here who have experience building products and launching with entertainment and NFTs, so let us know if you want any help with that. We appreciate you taking the time with us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Benny.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you guys and gal.